Hi guys, it's Lisa Unger, and I'm here with another episode of Three Good Things. And I'm so excited to talk to Kalisha Buckhanon in her book, Speaking of Summer, which I am like very into right now. Like, I was actually like, do I really want to talk to Kalisha? Should I make her wait so I sit here and finish reading her amazing book? So it's a thriller. It's a literary thriller, but like all great thrillers, it's really not about the missing sister. It's really about the past. It's about trauma. It's about the lies we tell other people and the lies that we tell ourselves. And it's just very gripping. It's beautifully written. It's very atmospheric, and I think you're going to love it. So if you have not checked out Kalisha,
Thank
you
you.
definitely need to start with Speaking of Summer. It's also just to say an absolutely beautiful book. Like, this cover is so evocative, and it's like so not not your sort of run of the mill thriller cover, but when you look at it, like, there's a real atmosphere to it, and it feels very nice in your hand. So Kalisha, thank you for joining us and hanging out with me. And
Thank you. I'm
yeah,
happy.
thank you. We first met in St. at the St. Louis Book Fest,
Mhm.
what seems like about 150 years ago,
Yeah.
but which was, you reminded me,
Uh,
September of 2019.
2019. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was on my book tour, and I remember that I was in three markets that day. I was in Connecticut in the morning, St. Louis in for the St. Louis Book Fest, and I left that night to go to another city, which I at this moment have no idea what city that was. That's just the nature of the book tour. So I'm delighted to have you here to hang out, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm so happy, excited. I'm really glad to just talk to you again. I learned so much from Lisa. Sorry, I never know where to look, but
Oh, I know.
I, I learned a lot from Lisa, everyone.
That's so nice. That's so nice.
Yeah, just following just her career, reading her work, and learning, I think, pacing. Um, yeah, a lot of pacing. And just listening to her talk and experiencing her personality of just so, I don't know, chill, just zen. And I'm like, how does
Working
somebody
on it.
writing all these books on it? And I'm pretty like chill and bubbly in person as well, but I don't write this many books. So I don't know. Musician.
I was reading over your incredibly impressive bio.
Oh,
And I was just gonna tell people a little bit about, so you have four novels: Upstate, Conception, Solemn, and Speaking of Summer.
aw.
And these books were, picks by Essence, O Magazine, Time, USA Today, Entertainment Weekly, Cosmo, BuzzFeed, LitHub, and more. Your short stories have been published pretty much everywhere: Fiction International, Oxford American, Black Renaissance Noir, Michigan Quarterly Review, and more. And you've been nominated for or won some pretty amazing awards: a Friends of American Writers Award for Conception, a Pushcart Prize nomination, an Illinois Arts Council fellowship, and a Pi Beta Kappa induction. You have a master's and a bachelor's degree in English from the University of Chicago. And you have a writing MFA from the New School, which I don't know if you know that I also went to the
I
School.
do.
I went to Eugene Lang.
I know. I was like new school love. I know.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. What a great place. I loved my time. I actually started at NYU as a freshman, and then
Yeah.
wound up moving to Eugene Lang because I had so many friends that were writers and were in that program, that undergraduate program, and I just fell in love with it. It's such a tiny little place in the West
Hmm.
Village, and the classes were so just dynamic, and had these amazing teachers, like Susan Laurie Parks was my playwriting teacher. She was just like amazing.
Yeah.
Mark Statman, who's like just this tremendous poet, was my poetry teacher. Eleanor Bader was my journalism teacher, and they just allowed me to completely focus on what I wanted to do, the only thing that I ever wanted to do, which was to write. And it was just an amazing educational experience for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, their faculty was just undeniable.
I know.
And I was in Chicago, and I just knew I wasn't a publicist in the level you were, but I was working in PR for a nonprofit. I've been a secretary. I'd done a lot, and I just knew I wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. Nothing was wrong.
Right.
Everything was right.
Everything was wrong.
Everything went wrong after I got published. But when I was before, I had a cheap, apartment, a fiance, a new car,
right.
A job, a salary. But I just knew, and I just said, I have to go to New York. I was like, I want to be a writer. Like, I want to go and, I don't know, I think I was mocking writers. But the new school, I got into NYU and Columbia. But the new school gave me a presidential scholarship, which
well, there you go.
I wasn't gonna put money down. Writers don't turn that money down. And I was also, the faculty. I mean, I was just, actual.
Impressive. I mean, it's an amazing place, and it's. I mean, obviously NYU and Columbia are awesome, amazing schools.
Yeah.
There's just something special about the new school. There's a special dynamic passion for for politics, for literature, for design. There's all these different elements to the school.
Diversity.
Yeah.
They were the most diverse faculty.
Right. And, all voices, very much so open to, all voices, and not just open to it, but, celebrating, and that it's like a mosaic of all, everything that we have to offer as Americans, right?
Yeah.
Like, true Americans, like from everywhere in the world. Right. And that's what I always loved about it. It's such a like passionate place. I still have like my little, on my desk, I have my little button from when I attended. And it says "Think Like Lang."
Yeah.
I have it like on my desk. So yeah, that's it's a special place. I'm glad to have experienced it. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, I am. And I think it's something too to be said for the tininess of it.
Absolutely.
Like you said, yeah, because I actually wound up living right across those huge steps that go from Harlem proper to Columbia, the big steps across Morningside Park. I lived right there where you cross through. And so I always went to Columbia's author events and writing events and lectures.
Yeah.
So I still got to kind of carry along that deeply kind of humanistic experience that I had gotten at University of Chicago. I just kind of cheated my way over to Columbia, across the steps, and I was there. But then when I went to class at the new school, what it was for me was the emphasis on work there.
Exactly.
Like, which I had missed in prior.
Just get to work. Just sit down and do the work. Or go out and do the research, or you have the entire city, is like the entire city becomes, or at least that's what I felt as an undergraduate, the entire city becomes your research project. Find yourself going places and doing things and just exploring in a way that is fueled by your education, or maybe your education is fueled by the city. And that's kind of what I love. That's what I loved about it. And I'm just like the kind of person that needs a really small environment. As much as I loved NYU, it was like the only place I ever, as a kid, it was the only place I ever wanted to be. And my dad was like, my dad didn't think I was going to be able to get in. He was like, well, if you can get in, you can go. And I was like, I'm going to get in. He's like, yeah, we'll see. And I was like, okay, so I got in. And he's like, oh, damn.
College or bluff.
He's like,
Yeah.
can you go to Rutgers? Because we lived in New Jersey. He's like, can you go to Rutgers? Because I also got into Rutgers. I was like, no. He told me if I could get into NYU, I could go. And he was like, all right.
Yeah. It's quite a price difference when you count the city. Yeah. Not just the school. Dad was, I trust me, I get where he was coming
He
from,
should
but
not have laid down the gauntlet like that, though. That's all I'm going to say. You know, he dared me and I did it. So,
yeah.
sorry, Dad. Sorry. My daughter's getting ready to go to college, and we'll see where payback comes in on that one.
I know everybody's getting paid back. I'm at that age now where everybody's coming to me talking about their payback, and we're all like, they, do we want to tell them to be writers or not?
Right.
They want to be writers. They want to be activists, which is a part of writing, I think.
Yeah. It's a huge feature of writing, and
I think so. Publishing is part of that.
activist,
Definitely.
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I don't know. I mean, it's my daughter is actually she's more visual, so she's an animator. My husband paints and I write. So it's funny to find her in this space of storytelling that embodies both in this art form that embodies storytelling and visual art. So that's kind of where she landed, and she's very passionate about it, and she's also super talented. But I remember my dad, like, I always knew I was a writer. My mom was a librarian. So but my dad was an engineer, and he was kind of like, yeah, that's not a job. Like, writing is not a job. People don't like do that. So
yeah.
you need to figure out what you're going to do, which is why, I kind of went after I graduated from the New School, even though I started my first novel there. I went into publishing because I just didn't have the confidence, to pursue that. Like, there was always that voice that was like, well, you probably can't do it. And I kind of had that in my head for a long time.
No, I didn't think it was a job because, and I talk about this with some friends and just people I know who work in the Hollywood creative world and film.
Right.
Their film school, their screenwriting program,
right,
introduce them to an industry.
Yes,
and
exactly right. Exactly
and
right.
steps. Yeah, and hierarchies and climbing, and how do you get from point A of school to point B?
First job, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
What's that going to look like? What do you do when you get it?
Right. And there's nothing like that for writers, not really.
Nothing. For writers, it's go be an English major and continue being an English nerd or bookworm or whatever that is. I don't know. Yeah.
Bookworm, exactly.
Yeah, continue that.
Yeah.
And maybe have some relationships and meet some people, which now I have to say the New School was good. My amazing teachers as well, who were working writers.
Exactly right. Yeah. That was also true for me as an undergrad. They were all published and working writers. So there was a lot of permission. And then also, like, after I graduated and went into publishing, I worked in publishing for 10 years. And that's where I really sort of gave myself permission to be who I was, because that's where I learned the industry. And that's where I realized that, hey, you know what? I don't think my dad was right, because there actually are people doing this.
Yeah.
And maybe I could be one of them. So it took me 10 years to finish my first novel, which I started when I was 19 and then finished when I was 29. But it was that novel that was my first published novel in 2002. So
it's on the job. It really is for writers, on the job, this on the job training. And you are like Toni Morrison as well. That's what her path was on. She was an editor,
right,
not a publicist.
Right, that's right. Yeah,
so she had that same kind of on the job training to in an inside view to kind of build up her confidence and get her toes in the water. But for all published authors, unless I'm talking about novelist fiction specifically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what but for all fiction writers, novelists, it is on the job training. And, in my case, coming right out of the New School MFA, it was like a baptism by fire, because it was just literally, it was my thesis upstate. My first novel was my MFA thesis.
Okay. Yeah.
It was the beautiful gift of the school to me that I will just never forget was I didn't know at that time that I was just doing my homework and what was asked of me to get this degree, that New York was fun, but I suffered. I was broke.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
Yeah, it'll take it out. It'll take it all from you. That is.
It took it. It took
all
it.
your money, all your energy, all your,
self-image.
Yeah, it takes it all. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I was like, I just want to get out of here, but I didn't, or I was going to stay in the city, but work.
Yeah.
So I didn't know it was going to lead to that. But yeah, I mean, we really, and when I definitely push out more books that I want to push out, I definitely, and you definitely would be someone just fantastic to do this. I really want to focus, create some coalition or program or something to really talk to writers about the business of it, in the same way that there is a film school. Because what happens more often than not is people that are wanting to be writers, or by the time you realize you need the information, it's too late. You're either already in it. And but to really teach, because I got that from school. I had a Hilton Als, was a New Yorker columnist, who's just one of the best writers on the planet, and one of the oddest teachers I've ever had, but I learned so much from that. But he was always on his deadlines.
Right.
His work was his life, because his culture that he experienced was coming out of his life. There was Sapphire, who was always reminding people, you are not going to get a book deal and go be Emily Dickinson in the attic.
Right.
That doesn't work like this. It was Helen Schulman, Pablo Medina. They all talked about it. And it was a safe space to just be honest and open in ways that I think would really benefit writers, because we all don't have that kind of inside view to learn the mechanics. I didn't know what the difference between a sales or library. You have to know all these different arms, these things you love, libraries, bookstores,
right.
It's
interesting because the like Columbia and NYU, they both have these really spectacular publishing programs, these summer publishing programs, but they're not for authors. They're for people who want to work in publishing. And that is such a fascinating that's such an interesting thing that, Leah, this has never occurred to me, that there is literally nothing like that for authors, just for people who are trying to get there. There's a lot of organizations. There's, like, as you mentioned, you just joined ITW, which is a fantastic organization for writers, thriller writers. And then, of course, there's the Mystery Writers of America, but and they have these big conferences, BoucherCon and Thriller Fest. And, these are great places, I think, for aspiring writers and for writers that are just starting out, because that might be the place where you get the most sort of ability to meet mentors, people that have navigated the system. But, there's no formal, like, okay, hey, look, here's a 6-week course on what it means to be an author, right? You've written your book, it's going to be published or not. You're still trying to get it published, but this is what you need to know when you walk through the door. Because I say this a lot, having come from publishing, like, most writers think that publishing contract is like, that's the end of the story. It's a windfall, nothing but big success follows that, like, first contract. But it's actually harder to succeed as a published writer than it is to get published in the first place. And there's so much you don't know when you walk through that door, that it would be beneficial to have that, instruction, like, this is how it works. And, it doesn't always work. And also too, it never stops,
for reasons that are mysterious,
that are totally mysterious. And it never stops being about the words on the page. Like it never stops being about the writing. You know, you can be told that it's about, oh, your social media platform, or oh, your audience, or oh, this. But to be honest, it's never anything but it's never about anything but the writing that you do. You always have to be focused on being better. I mean, to this day, that's what motivates me.
Yeah. And that's what, when I was like talking about where I feel like I've had two careers, an early career, which was coming out of the new school, and you know, everything that happened that I didn't even expect was going to happen. And then, you know, a career kind of just, I didn't publish for it was 8 years between my second and third novels. And in that period of time where I was telling you earlier how I'm kind of jealous of other writers who come and say, oh, it took me 10 years to get my book published, and you'd be amazed. I'm like, you have somebody listening to that in the audience who's like, wow, good for you. Because literally that period of time where I actually had a book contract, it was a variety of things that led to that. But in that period of time is when I learned who I was as a writer. Because prior, in being, you know, in Chicago, it was a dream. You know, then I get to school and it's okay, I'm practicing, but I'm not expecting anything to happen. And then it happens, and I just had never learned who I was, you know, matured personally. I think that goes a long way for writers, for your work and how you handle business. But to actually teach myself, wow, I really love doing this. Like, I'm not doing this for the passion or the wish, because after you get that, it's like a marriage. It's like, okay, you had your honeymoon and you fell in love. And then what are you here for? Why is, or, you know, a job.
It's not just about the wedding.
Yeah, well, not just about, your book. Oh gosh. But why, you know, why would I keep doing this? I didn't know why, because I had gotten everything you dream of. I got the deal and the, you know, running around and meeting people and all that, and book tours and the press and stuff that you mentioned, but I had to learn why I wanted to just keep doing it. And I wrote more in that period of time, unprompted by school or deadline or responsibility or contract, than I had ever written in my life, and just honed in on what I like and who I am. And so that did lead, in that period of time, I joined, built community, which I hadn't had beyond others. You know, I didn't know any writers other than my mentors, people ahead of me that I looked up to, but I didn't have any peers, you know. I didn't have people that I was really kind of able to grow and live and do this with. And so I joined Sisters in Crime.
Oh, right. Sisters in Crime, of course.
That led me to you know, just have meeting spots and go to meet them at ALA, and landed me on Susan Lucci's TV show Deadly Affairs. Like,
that's so cool.
Yeah, they were looking for they loved me instantly, because they were looking for authors, because we could definitely tell stories and break down cases. And so which opened up a whole world, because I just kind of went along with the producers into other shows besides hers. And so it just opened up a whole other world of myself. And so, you know, I appreciate, I got that experience latently, you know, of wanting to be a writer. It happened for me latently, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So if there is anybody, you know, kind of watching and feeling like, and then you too, 10 years, or you started a novel when it had another life, and then you came back, and that's what I did as well. I said, this is, no, I have a contract. I'm a writer. Okay, get rid of all that other stuff and do what you're here to do. So if there's watching, there's all sorts of kind of funky,
Yeah, there's all different. The path is not. It's not just one path.
Yep.
Everybody that I know, everybody that I talk to, all my friends, people who are, huge bestsellers, award winners, all that, they all have a different, like, sort of twisting path to the place where they're at. And I think it's okay to just acknowledge that. And there's not just one way to get where you want to go as a writer. There are lots of different, and there's lots of, the writing life is not for the faint-hearted. It is full of, dizzying highs and crushing lows, and that is the way of it. It's unpredictable and wild. So if you have an appetite for that, then it's great. It's a great choice. Well, we've sort of.
I know, and we need. No, I was going to say we need you to say that, because that was another thing for me with the collision. I've always been really social and a social butterfly, and I was a firstborn kid of 4 younger siblings, later 5, huge families, lots of friends, but nothing could have prepared me for it's wild, like, and that was kind of the other thing. I literally recoiled, I think, physically, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, from just how wild, things were. And I consider myself like a social, I was pageants. I was voted Miss Congeniality once. So I literally was one of the people, everybody liked, like, oh, she's nice. So I knew how to process a lot of people, remember people, converse with people. I knew how to do that, but that's another part of publishing that getting published, that they don't talk about, is it's nothing like you've experienced. And like, if you think you're going to go off in your corner, get your book deal, and it doesn't, close the door, move to your island.
Nope.
It doesn't work now.
It does not.
No.
Well, so I invited you on the show to hang out and chat, and also to talk to you about 3 Good Things. So maybe we should start with that. Maybe we should move on to your favorite book, and this could be anything. So writers are, we're all readers first, of course. I say this every show, right? This is where we fall in love with the page, just like with the story, right? In the pages of somebody else's book. So is there something for you right now that's like really transporting you, or is there like a book that is just like a touchstone for you? Something that you go back to again and again when you need like inspiration, or when you're feeling lost in your own work, just something that, you go back to again and again? Or
my favorite
current. Yeah.
My favorite book is Sula by Toni Morrison. Oh, my favorite. Yeah. It's, I feel if I don't, and it's short. I got it in college, Introduction to Fiction. Fiction of Three Americas. A great professor, William Veeder, who loved novelists. He was writing a novel, and so he was an English professor that you could just feel loved writers. Introduced Sula to me.
Yeah.
And it's a book that if I don't read it in a while, I feel some kind of way. I gotta read it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's about 3 generations of a family.
Yeah.
It was her second novel.
Right.
And it was kind of one that fell through the cracks, like sophomore novels do.
Yeah.
But it's just 3 generations of a family in Ohio, the Midwest, small town Midwest, which is where I'm from. And so I recognize the milieu, I recognize the language, the people, everything about it, the culture, the women, the home. And it's just 3 generations of this family, and the title character Sula is something else. She's different. She's not going to be what she's told to be. But it does go back into the history of her mother and grandmother and what happens. But it's this 3-generational tome in 170 pages or something, and it's almost like reading myself, my world that
you were in college when you first discovered it, or?
Yeah, I was 20 in a class called Fiction of Three Americas.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he was placing Sula in conversation with Latin American writers and African writers, European writers, or Latin America, North America, and whatever, South America, I don't know. So Fiction of Three Americas, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing class.
Yeah, so that's my favorite. If it was like all burning down, the Bible, I'd grab the Bible. But in terms of novels, I'd grab Sula. I wouldn't even grab my own. That's
right. Right, your own. You don't need that, right?
Yeah. Done.
And so a lot of us too, I've heard from a lot of my sort of readers, other authors, people who are watching my little show, saying that they're just having like a hard time reading, or especially during the heart of the pandemic. People just like, there's so much stress and anxiety and so much like tumultuous change going on in the country that they just can't like bring themselves to focus. So a lot of people have just been, watching television, movies, and I'm just curious, is there anything for you that is like currently just very much transporting you, or like something that you just really into right now, or something that you could turn back to again and again, also the same way I ask for the books for comfort or for inspiration, or just something that you love to watch again and again?
Yeah, I mean, I am just a true humanist who soaks up everything, and culturally, and obviously, I write what I write. I'm a Black woman, but as you said, I am formed from so much,
Right.
and yeah, you're just so much forms you, and that's why I'm happy to get involved with groups like Sisters in Crime and ITW, is because I can at least focus. It focuses me on but I love, it's, you've asked me something I'm almost ashamed to answer. People would be shocked.
No, answer it. Answer it truthfully. I want to know what you're watching. Tell me.
I'm like, I watch the darkest stuff. It's sad. Sorry, it's sad. Okay.
Really, it's pathological.
I know. Okay, I'll go there then. All right. Well, yeah, like I've always, don't ask me why, like maybe it had something to do with my parents, like having Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, on the TV, in the 80s or 90s or whatever, when it was the big TV on the floor.
Yeah, right. The wooden box.
Yeah. It just desensitized me. So yeah, in terms of, I tend to watch things like, I'll be safe, like Westworld is.
Oh yeah, Westworld. Westworld is like, wow. I don't know what to say about Westworld. I mean, it is like, especially the first season, very unsettling. Very unsettling.
Like, why do I want to be unsettling?
Trust me, I don't say that lightly.
But it's true. I can't watch something. I don't know what that, I mean, it's so sad. It's like, in terms of binge watching, I keep the TV in the background just so my own, head will stay
quiet. Your head. Turn off your frontal lobe.
Yeah. It's either on the Christian station, like the all day, preachers or whatever, or the true crime network. It's like, goes from these extremes.
I love it.
It's one of those, whichever, that day, it's going to be one of those. But watching, like I said, I don't know, I tend to watch horror movies. but I just actually wrote a blog about and again, I guess rough stuff. I don't know. Pieces of a Woman is a movie that I've just it's a streaming, it's a film
I don't think
that I've just fallen in love with it's Ellen Bernstein and Vanessa Kirby.
Okay.
And it was initially the description of it, I'd never heard of it, but a woman kind of has a home birth go wrong.
Okay.
And so it's been a long time since I started something and just or walked into a theater when we did that, which I'm a person who goes to the movies alone, and just sits in the theater alone. But it's been a while since something took me on away. And that just took me away. Like it was nothing. If I'd been in the theater, I would have never gotten up, and it's nothing you can just look away from.
Right.
So yeah, so there's that, but it's always, I will go back and watch Forensic Files, old archive, and write.
Yeah.
I know the cases, I know the story. I'm sorry, Lisa, it's embarrassing. There's Clarice.
This is a safe space, Kalisha. You can say whatever you want to say. There's no.
I meet people and they're like, "Oh, you're so cute, 5 feet tall or whatever," and it's like you don't want to know. But yeah. But I want to see Clarice. I just really, yeah. I want to see Clarice because
did it start? Did it start yet?
One episode has started. Yeah. So there or two, I think.
CBS,
two.
Right?
CBS. I missed two. I'll throw on Silence of the Lambs, Fargo. So
yeah,
Michael Mann. But so the thing about these films is I know them, and so they don't interrupt when you have to be alone. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, Silence of the Lambs is like, well, I mean, the books themselves also, the Red Dragon, which is the first book by Thomas Harris with Hannibal Lecter, and I mean, the books are just they're fully perfection. I mean, they're perfect thrillers, and Silence of the Lambs is the perfect thriller film. Also Fargo as well. I mean, Fargo is just, I mean, it's perfection, like in every way, character writing.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so I'm sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not a rom-com feel good like type movie. I just get bored. Like I get bored. Although I did just interview Donna Hill, romance author, for her book Confessions on Confessions in B flat. And I was like, you have to enjoy this more, Kalisha. And it's so funny. It was like Confessions in B flat, Confessions on the 745. Two totally different,
very different
levels of confessing going on. But so that was nice to get pulled into that. But it has to be like a really big star I love or big writer I love. For me to go light. I just tend to, because my world is just so plain and boring, and I've always been, the oldest daughter, a girl, woman, you got to do whatever. And so this is just my culture, is my way to kind of just say, I'm going to be who I want to be, do the unexpected, turn some corners.
Exactly. Well, so we're all doing a lot of cooking these days, right? I mean, this is another way to, speaking of nourishing yourself with story, we're all nourishing ourselves in these new ways. Like most of us are not going out as much, and we're sort of experimenting at home. And in my family, all three of us cook, so we're all, we're always in the kitchen making something. And I'm just wondering, is there anything like that for you? Do you have like a go-to comfort food when you're just like, I've had a day, I need to eat this? Or like just something that is like your go-to, that you just, it's the easy thing and you always like it? Anything like that you can tell are still, most of us, pandemic lockdown listeners?
The extent of it is like, it was exciting for me to go to Trader Joe's to like switch up my routine.
Right? You're like, wow, I'm at the grocery store.
I went to Trader Joe's. I got some different things. Now, because I literally eat the same thing. I'm vegetarian. Popcorn, like a lot of popcorn. but I make
Popcorn is like so amazing. You know, it's the most amazing thing, like especially when if you have a kid. Like it used to be when my daughter was small, like popcorn was like it's like an activity and a
yeah,
snack.
yeah.
It's a thing that you
That.
do. And it's like it's always like just a tiny bit of a miracle that those
Yeah.
hard little kernels just like kind of explode into like puffy things.
I know. I'm so ashamed of myself because I think that's a part of it. Like I think
Yeah,
it's
no, it's
the
huge.
activity. Like, oh, I'm going to make some popcorn and like you have to jiggle
Air
the
popper.
pan.
It just kind of explodes out of the air popper.
I know. I've been making popcorn and it's Chicago. So it's really we just had they're saying it's the biggest snowstorm Valentine's Day ever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Always feels that way here. So that has just happened. And so it's like the perfect thing. But no, I have the same thing pretty much every day, green smoothies, salads. I will definitely allow myself fish and eggs because writing is mentally.
You need brain food.
Yeah.
Eggs and
Yeah.
fish are definitely brain food, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I need that definitely. But in terms of just what I need to stop is the popcorn because it's counteracting the hour at the gym
Right. It does sneak up on you, that popcorn, doesn't it? It's like, especially if you eat it at night, like if you eat it a couple nights in a row at night, you're like, no, I can't do this.
it sneaks up it has snuck up on me. I'm at that point and but I also think I'm missing the movie theater.
Oh, right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge theater woman, and whether that's date night or just I am one of those people that goes into the theater alone. I will be shopping, walking, and I've seen some of the best movies and found, and in New York, it was one of the rare things I could afford to do.
Right.
Was going to the theater, and so I think that's a part of it is I'm missing the experience of
Yeah.
the whole experience.
The whole movie experience. I think we're all kind of missing that. Well, as well as everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to hold up your book one more time. Speaking of summer,
Thank
fantastic
you.
book, beautifully written, very engrossing, all kinds of layers, twists and turns. So definitely, you guys check this out. Kalisha, it has been such a joy to talk with you. Thank you for hanging out with me for a little while. Like at least we get to have a good conversation, as like we could just pretend that we're like in a coffee shop having a coffee together.
Or my favorite cocktail drink.
Oh yeah.
I think my red wine.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I do good everywhere else. I do good.
Now I know your secrets. Horror movies, red wine, and popcorn.
Yeah.
This is the way to Kalisha's heart. If you want to make her happy, you need to get her these things.
Yes, thank you. I would be so happy with a horror movie, some popcorn, and a glass of wine. Yeah, red wine.
I love it.
I'm not a vampire.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you, Lisa, and everybody.
We'll see you in the real world soon.
Both of us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Bye.